Welcome one, welcome all. I am Bridger, and today we are jumping back into Mr. President, the state of the world. We're halfway through our second year. The midterms are upon us at the end of this year. In order to make sure that our party has a good showing in the midterms, we want high media relations, we want high presidential prestige, and we want high public approval. All three of those things, are going well. The other things we want to make sure we're focused on here is we want to put sanctions on Russia because our relations with them are already terrible, so we might as well sanction them because the worst that happens is they like you less. And yeah, our relations with China are great. Unfortunately, their economy is also really good, so they're going to cause us lots of problems. Lastly, I do want to focus on remembering to do some DARPA focuses this particular year. Last year, I kind of forgot to do the Cyber War DARPA conference, focus that I'd planned on. So, yeah, unfortunately, right now, China is going to act. So let's open up the book there and see what that looks like. So first, we're going to check. Now, we did manage to significantly reduce their tensions. I think we got rid of 3 or 4 of their tension counters just sort of recently before this point. So here, we've got +2 total to the tensions counters. That means they don't have a poor economy, and tensions is not 5 or more, so they do not change to posture 2. So that's good. Posture 2 China would be a nightmare right now. Now, if there's 0 to 1 tension counters sum, then we would gain some relation, a trending relation with China here. But unfortunately, that is not the case. Either way, we're going to flip them and add a single tension counter afterwards because they always replace with half. Then immediately, blah, 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 improve strategic capabilities. Now, this is where things get bad because they're going to try to catch up to us anywhere they are 2 behind, which is nowhere. This is why we wanted to have some DARPA last time. But now that means they're going to try to improve cyber warfare and naval forces training and training in tech. Oh. That's a comma that shouldn't be there. Okay, naval forces training in tech. If only one action remains, choose between the remaining. So they've got 2. They're going to try cyber warfare and naval forces training. They're going to try to do both. So here's the naval forces training, which they're going to try. They try to do both once. So let's try it. They need a 1 to 4 on naval forces training. They failed cyber warfare. Damn it, of course they freaking got that one. That's going to make things problematic. But we're doing really well on the domestic front. We might even get an auto victory. So if we can just prevent China from, being, then we might be okay. All right, that's their 2 checks on their strategic capability. So now they're going to do some espionage. They're going to do one of those. Let's check the target. 4 means they steal military secrets and war plans. There's no war otherwise. Okay, so the Chinese-Japan relative strength track goes 1 in favor of China. So China's got a big advantage now on that track, which there is a way for a war to break out between them that doesn't necessarily end the game, but that track matters a lot. I now kind of want to see if they get all the way to the prepare for war action, but they will only do that action if Chinese relations with the U.S. are less than 4. So we don't have to worry about that kicking off as long as we can keep our relations strong. But this would matter pretty much exclusively with regards to that. All right. So they've done that. Actually, they would get a -1 on that roll. So that wouldn't be a military secrets. That would be a steel technology. They're actually going to do this instead. So a random technology, number 1, they go up 1 step, which is arguably worse. All right, next up, try to improve Chinese economy. It's already really good. And they're going to get a -1 per counter in the 2 Asias, the Middle East, and or Africa. So 1, 2, 3. Man, we really did manage to limit their influence. And -1, -2. Oh, and they get another -2. So their economy is -3, 4, 5. So that is a 1. So improving economy. It's already maxed out, so it doesn't matter. Now we got to check their actions, which is 7 +1 +1 -1. So 8 actions, which is just an insane number of actions. And then we remove this +1 AP marker. Performing each action listed below. Terror in Central/South Asia. If there are 5 total terror group levels in Central South Asia, that is true. There are 6 because this is a pair of. No, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still 5 there. They're going to use 1 of their 8 actions. It is a lot of action to Brits, especially in this action economy. That is true. Is that Rob? Is that your old handle? Let's see. So I got to keep track of this. They've got 8. So now they're going to have 7 after this, where we check and see what the terror situation is going to be there. Oh, they don't have to roll. They just use 1 China action to remove 1 terror level from the largest group in the region. So presumably that's going to be this one here. I see. I didn't know you still had me on your subs list. Now they're going to try to quell rising dissent by addressing internal issues. Roll a d10 adding 1 if China posture is 2 and subtract it if China's SOE. So they subtract 1 from this, which is a 9. No effect. Dang it. I was hoping there would be some internal dissent. So they still have 7 actions left. No wars. There's no sanctions. So they go to cyber attacks. Of course they go to cyber attacks. They're going to determine the target. 6 is discredit and replace U.S. as a major trade partner in Asia Pacific, which is not great. Our regional alliance here is good, but they're going to make it worse. They also have a very good chance of a major success, which they got. Major success adds 1 Chinese influence to Asia Pacific, and places a trending anti-U.S. counter, and increases regional crisis by 1. Ugh, that cyber warfare roll, man. Okay. We're going to send DARPA to fix our cyber situation every single time from now on. That's what we're going to do. Do we have a bill on cyber warfare? We do. We pushed it into making it harder for our opponents to pass because it was our opponent's bill on cybersecurity. But now I want it. Now I want it to pass. So we'll see. The game is set between 2001 and 2020, essentially. All right, 1 belt, 1 road is the next Chinese action here. This is, by the way, where we are in the turn sequence. We are here, the very beginning of the second half of the year. All of this stuff has already happened. So China is acting. This is perhaps one of the longest segments in the game when the peer nations act. Russia or China acts here, then the other one acts halfway through the year. So 1 belt, 1 road. Place a trending anti-U.S. counter on China's relations with the U.S. track. Oh, every single time they just freaking like us less. There. Okay, great. Count the number of belt and road regions that have either a Chinese influence counters or a Chinese base. And those are the Asia regions, Middle East, Africa, Eastern Europe, and the Eurozone. Everything but South and North and South America. So every area that has either 3 or a China base. So the answer is 0 to 1. Perform option A. The Chinese influence in 2 belt and road regions where China has the fewest influence counters. All right, that's going to be, they're going to place 1 in the Middle East, and they're going to place 1 in probably, nope, they've got 1 all of there. So it's going to be randomized, I guess. Break ties in order of above. Okay. So Central South Asia is going to be where the second one goes. So they now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 influence on the board. We got to be careful because when they get to 15, they win. So we're going to have to start doing some curtailing of Chinese influence here. All right. Next, regardless of which option, immediately place 2 tensions counters on China and 1 on Japan, India, Australia. They always do that. They make things just so much worse. So Japan, Australia. How does Australia have so many tensions counters? We've got some U.S. military footprints we're going to try to do something about by the end of the turn here. And then Republic of Korea also gets a tensions counter. The Gulf states gets a tensions counter. None of them like this Chinese stuff either. And Russia also gets a tensions counter. Why? You guys both hate me. Can't you get together on that? Come on. All right. So now they're down to 6 because that was their 7th action. So they're going to be down to 5 doing the next action, which is expand Chinese influence in neighboring regions. Any regions of 3 or more Chinese influence, they build a base, but they don't. We unfortunately allowed the Russians to build a base in Eastern Europe. We tried to do something about it, but couldn't quite get there. Next, we are trying to deal with where they expand. If there is 0 to 1 and no base in Asia Pacific, or 2 plus China counters and no base in Asia Pacific and 1. So that's not true either. Otherwise, attempt to expand Chinese influence first in the Middle East, Africa, Eurozone. Okay, so Middle East with no Chinese. If all of them have the counter. Oh, skip this action. Huh. Okay. Well, they all have a counter. Therefore, we skip this action. I'll take it. Reinforce allies, build military, use force. If China has a relative strength in the China, Japan, or India-China conflict track that is equal to or lower than Japan or India, they increase. But no, they're there and there. They both have advantages. On that. Why is there a... Oh, track 2 is the number. Okay. If Pakistan's at war with India, no. Okay, so that one's also ignored. Secure the sea lanes. If there are at least 2 Chinese influence counters or a China base in Asia Pacific. Man, we were able to skip this one last time, but not this time. Roll D10 and add 1 if China's posture is 2. So we rolled D10. It's a 9, which means neighbors contest Chinese expansion. Choose whether to use U.S. air and naval forces to intimidate or threaten force against the Chinese. Then roll a D10, applying a DRM from your decision. So if we decide to use U.S. naval and air forces to intimidate, we'd add +2 DRM to this. Gulp. So this is going to compare U.S.-China air and naval strategic capabilities. We are leading on naval, and we're parity on air. If it was at least 2 greater, we'd have a much better chance of dealing with this. If neither is true, okay, so I think we should try to push our way in here. Because if we don't use U.S. naval and air forces to intimidate / threaten the Chinese, we immediately reduce U.S. alignment in Asia because our allies there are pissed that we're not helping them curtail Chinese influence here. And we place a trending pro-U.S. counter on China's relations with the U.S. track. Also decrease ally relationship by 1 level with 1 random ally in Asia Pacific. I mean, that is a nice way to get a bonus relations with the U.S. here. But yeah, I think we're gonna not do it. Let's not push our luck. So we unfortunately get an ally, random ally, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So unfortunately, the Republic of Korea is not happy with our decision, but China relations are maintained. I hate that. I hate that I had to do that, but we do not have the military power to fully, just shock and awe them into submission. All right, next, we're going down to 4 by spending the next action, which is attempt to expand Chinese influence in Central and South America. And unfortunately, we haven't taken any actions to deal with that. So they're going to attempt to expand influence in Central America if its regional alignment is less than 7. So it is. So they do. So they roll, and we're going to add regional alignment of 5. And if it's greater than 10, we don't add it. Oh, they do add 1. Oh, boy. Okay, so they get another influence. Okay, we're going to have to spend some actions curtailing this pretty soon. It's going to be tricky because we can't do it if the regional alignment is not high. All right, going down to action 3, veto UN sanctions. If there are currently UN sanctions counter on Iran or North Korea, China vetoes the renewal of sanctions at the UN. Oh, well, that's disappointing. Why would you do that? Just to be a jerk? Remove the UN sanction counter from North Korea. Okay. So they're going to now have 2 actions remaining. All right. Oil partnerships. China invests in additional production and infrastructure projects aimed abroad and securing channels for their growing oil import. Roll a D10, a 9. Place a Chinese influence counter in the Middle East. Make a regional alignment check in the Middle East. If you fail, place a trending U.S. counter. Ooh. We're doing better there, though. Here's the alignment check, 5 or less. Come on. Yeah, okay, we avoided that, but now they get another influence. They could have an auto win sometime soon. We got to deal with this. Test cyber war against the U.S. economy. Doesn't apply. The next one doesn't apply. And this ends the... They had another action left. Jesus. Okay. Yeah, let's do something about this. Maybe do some cyber warfare against the Chinese economy or something, because it is doing way too well. We need some crises to come and hit it. Because it's booming, and it gives them so much they can do. All right. The bad part is over. Let's go here. I want to definitely spend 1 of our domestic actions to increase our party relations. And then I want to consider... Yes, I definitely want to spend 1 trying to improve bipartisan cooperation. So domestic, it's on page 2. Encourage bipartisanship in Congress. It costs us an action point. Wherever that is. There it is. We spend 1 action point. We roll a d6, and we hope for a good result. We got a 6. We're going to re-roll that by spending an action point. Oh, boy, you are kidding me. Your efforts cause problems with party leadership. Okay, well, I'm going to take my 3rd action to increase my friends again. Boy, that's... Arg. That's frustrating. That was the... Oh, no, I do get 2 more domestic actions, so I do get another shot at increasing bipartisan cooperation, but... Double 6s, man. It happens. Okay, that's all 3 of them, unfortunately. So we now draw 2 crisis cards. What's this say? Russian aid to North Korea. Add 1 Russian influence. Come on. The international scene, man, it's not great. And if Russia's posture is 2, send military advisors and new weapons to the DPRK. Increase their strength relative to the ROK by 1 in DPRK's favor. Add 1 tensions counter to North Korea and 2 to ROK. Yeah, we're going to have to sanction Russia for this nonsense. And increase the DPRK conflict track by 1 box. Oh, boy. So the relative status goes up towards... it's actually as high as it can go, but the conflict track does go up by 1. C'est la vie. All right, that was card number 1. Card number 2 is Deutsche Bank Twin Towers in Frankfurt heavily damaged by truck bombing. +2 regional crisis in Eurozone. No! It's a major crisis! Uh-oh. We got to find the major crisis in the world. Here it is. That's a regional major crisis. Is that the right one to roll? Yeah, WD1. Okay. Gulp. If a major regional crisis breaks out, -2 to public approval. Then roll a d10 and apply the result below, then move the regional crisis counter back to the 2 box. So it's going to reset to this. Damn, Deutsche Bank terrorist bombing. Wait a minute. Back up. Hold up, baby. Hold up. Because this is terrorism. And we get to ignore one of these. Once per game, you ignore one revealed terrorism event card. Let me just look at how bad this major crisis could be. Yep, I think I want to ignore it, because who knows when another terrorism card is actually going to show up. And this is going to add a whole bunch more terror. We're going to ignore this. Now, we don't have an easy way to, like, mark that we've used this. I guess I'm just going to drag it down a little bit to mark that we've used it. Hopefully that'll remind us. Okay, so yeah, we have fucking superstars on the NSC staff, and so we were able to detect this terrorist attack and stop it before it came to be. But now we have a 3 cascading event. Gulp. Oh, that's the good thing. Same as from 2 deck and place and improving. Oh my god, our economy is so freaking good. We didn't need this right now. Increase the U.S. space warfare by 1 track. Thanks, Elon. Add 2 tensions counters to Russia and China. Oh, come on. Look at this Russia tension situation. It's kind of insane. All right, that's finally getting discarded now. And then, because there's a plus, we draw 1 more card here. Uh-oh. That's another terrorism event. Iraqi leader friendly to U.S. slain in car bombing. Political and social chaos ensues. If there's a level 4 terror group in the Middle East, replace it with a rogue state. There's not, thank God. +2 regional crises in the Middle East. Didn't cause a major crisis, though. Place a trending anti-U.S. counter. Man, we just had that under control. Okay. So those things don't happen because if there is no level 4 terror group in the Middle East, increase any level 3, 2, or 1 terror group. Yes, okay, so we got to increase this guy. Then +1 regional crisis, place a trending anti. Okay, the anti-U.S. trending is unavoidable. All right, but that was not as bad as the other one that was going to happen. And now we've made it through. So now we're coming up to our allies helping us out. Group A of the allies. Come to our rescue. There's terrorists everywhere. We need you. Group A is EU, NATO, Republic of Korea, and Iran. Fantastic. So first, we check out the world economic trends. Boy, I hope it's going down. I don't want... yeah, that's what you want to hear your president say, right? Boy, I hope the economy's tanking. But, like, I have control over improving my own economy. I have no control over Chinese economy unless I hack it. And I don't want to try hacking it as long as their cyber warfare is much better than mine. So here we go. Roll a d10. 5 means slow growth, no change. Then we roll a d10 for the Eurozone. If the Eurozone stability is 7 or 8, 6 or 7. Okay, so it's a -1 to this. Is a 6. Low interest loans, -1 to Eurozone regional crises. Excellent. That was important. Apparently 2 is the danger zone. Activate NATO. NATO is our very close ally. They only have the 1 tension, which is good, but they can do some joint actions, and maybe we should use those. Now, NATO can affect Eurozone and Eastern Europe, so they're going to go ahead and do an intel, which is automatic, and it's going to do this. And then they're going to try to improve stability in Eastern Europe. There are no regional crises, so that means they'll do it on a 1 to 5. Come on. Damn. All right. Well, we tried. Now we got to check out what their joint action is going to, or their unilateral action is going to be. It's going to be +1, so it is a 4. But you also add half of this rounded down, so it's nothing. Yep. So it's a 4. Train, +1 NATO relative strength. If already at +2, use the 5 to 6 result instead. So NATO relative strength is now equal over here against Russia, which could be valuable at some point. All right, so that's NATO. Now we get to, unfortunately, Republic of Korea is only going to get 1 action because they just got pissed that we sided a little bit with China there. So we only get 1 action over here. Stability is as high as it can go. And I wish there was an action to try to reduce Chinese influence, but there isn't. We could try to de-escalate, but we already did that last time. Oh, no, we didn't. De-escalate. Let's do that right now. So Roll the d10. Oh, we have to add 2. So only a 1 to 5 is success. Oh, it's going to fail no matter what. Okay. Now we got to check their unilateral thing. And boy, are they upset. 2, 4, 6, 7. Oh, you know what? We forgot to fix this. Oh, they don't draw any new ones. That's right. So 7 and a total of 5. Yeah, so they get 2 new ones. So they're adding 7, 8, and +1 for every 2 tension counters in North Korea, which is another 1. 9. They're adding 9 to this roll. So yeah, safe to say it's 12 plus, 13 plus. Talk tough and prepare for war. Increase the DPR ROK conflict box. Come on, guys. We just tried to deal with that. All right, but at least their tension's reduced significantly. Now, what's next? Activate Iran, who is, you know, kind of tense. We flipped their tension counters, and we got a total of 3. And then we're going to roll on their table. What is Iran? Mischief is Iran going to get up to now? +2 if Israel's currently at war. What is Middle East regional alignment? It is not great. It is 5, so that doesn't make them mad. So they're just going to roll with that plus, what did I say, +2? Ugh. Launch Proxy air-land war in the Middle East. Roll 1d10. 6. Hezbollah versus Israel. Oh boy. And if the result falls within the blue, then add 1 to Iran's nuclear missile track. Ah, we lose a presidential AP, and we get a bunch of tensions counters. So the tensions are added to Iran, Israel, Gulf states. You don't say. All right, so Hezbollah versus Israel is happening. So now we have to set that war up. This is not one that the United States participates in, but we can potentially perform actions that help our ally. We're deleting these. They are not at war. This is an air missile war, according to this. Or no, air-land war. No. Yeah, proxy air-land war. Okay. So it stays there. Oops, I don't want to clone. I want to delete. All right, let's see. War, enemies, Hezbollah. Now, launch a proxy air-land war. That suggests that Hezbollah is the attacker and Israel is the defender. So now we have to go to the war progress situation here. During any war progress roll, you may make 1 free cyber attack against the target. I think that was confirmed to only be if the US was involved. Since we are not involved, we do not have to worry about it. Okay. So now we have to figure out what the strength is here. So Israel is 8. And Hezbollah is 3, so that's already correct. Now we have to check the relative strength between Israel and neighbors. It's currently +1 in favor of Israel, so that's actually a 9 to 3. That's good. Okay. The U.S. is not involved. Determine the odds. The attacker odds are less than 1 to 3. And let's see if there are any. It doesn't look like there are any DRMs for it because the US is not involved. So we just roll a D6 or D10. A 1 is unfortunately very bad for Israel. No change, but both sides lose 1. And, oh, I'm sorry, the conflict status should start on stalemate. So that's too bad. We can maybe help Israel with a future situation. But that is the end of that conflict situation. believe. Let's see. Apply results. Losses don't go to us. Wait, was that an asterisk result? I should double check just to make sure. It was not. No asterisk. Nothing changes. If you, after you apply results, +1 regional crisis in the war's region. That's bad. Neither side wins and no peace. The war continues. And the U.S. is not involved, so we don't have to worry about that. So that's done. So now the thing we have to do is check unstable states in Central and South America to see what happens to them. If the regional stability is greater than or lower than 5, then there are some positive benefits. And in fact, stability is 6. So we get a -2 to these rolls. So unstable, I'm sorry, 6 over here. So we get a -2 to the, or -1 to this roll, which makes it an 8, which just barely keeps it from flipping into a civil war. This one here is straight up a 6, which keeps it on the map but does not get rid of it. All right. So that was bullet dodge. All right. So that was the ally and rogue states step. Now the U.S. cabinet is going to do their thing. So, number 1, address domestic crisis. Rolling a d6 1 to 5 is success. Really? We finally have a domestic crisis to deal with? Okay. 1 to 4. Success on press and public relations. They're both maxed out. No effect. All right. 1 to 3. Success. Place, and then we roll again to see what happens. +3 presidential APs. We have so many APs. We need to start spending these like crazy on rerolls and +1s and whatever else we can do. Increase relations with Congress by 1 box if we can do it, but we can't, so we're good. Improving economy marker. It's already as improved as it can get. And then we remove this, and it doesn't happen. Okay. So finally, we move on to -1 media relations, because media is fickle. Now we get 2 more domestic actions, right? And one of them has to be trying to improve our bipartisanship. So, encourage bipartisanship. We're going to spend an AP and another one to re-roll it again. Let's just hope we don't get double frickin' 6s again. So, a 3 is no effects. We want to re-roll it again for hoping for a 1 to a 2. Can't re-roll that one. Because once you re-roll once, that's it. So then I have to spend my second action to do this. I've got action. I'm going to spend 2 APs to get another action. Now, what I need to remember is you spend 2 APs to take 1 additional action of any type. Okay. So I think what we need to do is maybe work on Chinese influence around the world. Or maybe we need to bail out our ally. No, we want to put sanctions. Where's the sanctions? That's what I want to remember to do, sanctions this time. Trade agreement would be good, but we tried that before and failed. Attempt to improve one region's alignment. No, sanctions must be on here somewhere. Attempt to impose sanctions. Excuse me. 1 action, and we're going to pay an action point to increase the odds here. Choose a target country. Russia is the target. Roll a d10. We're going to attempt multilateral sanctions, I think. That would be a 1 to a 5. And then we would also get a reroll if we wanted to. If there are at least 2 tension counters in the target country, we get a -DRM. Yeah, that's true. Then we get another -1. And then we're getting another -1. So that's 3. Relations with Congress is 7 or greater. That's 4. If relations with Congress is blah, blah, blah. If the target is China. So we actually get -4. Absolutely, we're going to try this because it works on an 8 or less. So let's see. 8 or less. Is that a 10? Fuck you, we're reloading that. Come on. All right, that's better. So we pay 1 to re-roll, and now we get to put multilateral sanctions on there and move their relations with the U.S. counter 1 box left. Haha, joke's on you. It's already as bad as it can get. Now we need to do something about these tensions, though. Holy moly. That is outrageous. It's not going to give them a lot of actions, I don't think. I got to look that up right now. I really want to know. So what happens? For every increment of 5, place a trending anti-U.S. counter on the relations with U.S. Okay, that actually has no significant effect. It would potentially flip them. Oh. I'm looking at the wrong thing, but I think it works the same way for Russia. Increase one of Russia's conflict tracts. Yeah, so if we don't deal with the tensions, these Russian conflict tracts, Russia, NATO, and Russia, Ukraine will go up. But I think instead of dealing with the tensions, I should just, well, actually dealing with the tensions, dealing with this track will help reduce tensions. Unfortunately, I don't have any more of those I can do right now. So, I moved the wrong thing down. So now that we've done 2 domestic actions plus a action of our choice, we go to the legislative segment, which means I have to pull this up. We're in phase 1 and 3. Scroll down to legislative segment. All right, here we are. This could be good. I would like this to be good. Determine support and opposition to pending bills. This is going to kill me. So subtract the total rating of your congressional opponents and stuff. So we definitely have a 3 moves in this situation. So we're going to go 1, 2, and 3. The number in the current box is the number of bills you can pass. Now, it doesn't say what the opponents are going to try to pass. Right? If they can't pass cybersecurity, do they just say, throw their hands up and say, oh, well? I'll check the governing manual, but I wind up expecting that to fail me more often than not. In 22. No, it doesn't say anything. It just says if control is split, roll a d6 to see who chooses first. Opponents would make attempts on opponents' legislation that is furthest left in the pending box, i.e. the easiest to pass. But what if they can't? Did they just do nothing? I think so. If they can't, they do nothing, and then I would get to choose the 2 bills that we're trying to pass. So we're going to try to pass increased NASA funding and this lingering domestic issue thing. So we're going to first try NASA funding. It's a D6 minus 2. We need basically anything but a 6 for it to pass, because it passes on a 1 to a 3. So here it is. All right, that one passes. The other one also passes. All right, excellent. Now we got to figure out what kind of bills they are. Are they good bills, landmark bills, or are they dysfunctional bills? This is where having bipartisan cooperation here would ensure that they would not be dysfunctional and that they would have a better chance of being landmark bills. But in this case, there's no DRM. So we just roll a, a D6, and we're hoping for a 1. Here's NASA. Yes, we have a landmark NASA bill, ladies and gentlemen. This happened earlier. That's right. We had a landmark tax reform bill, but it was an opponent's bill, unfortunately. So the effect of a landmark bill that I have passed is to get 2 legacy points. Booyakasha. And then we got to look up NASA's landmark bill effects. Increase NASA funding, landmark. +3 public approval. Well, okay, that's not super useful. Neither is +1 relations with Congress. +1 to space warfare or strategic intel gathering. I think we're going to do strategic intel gathering because we're already doing pretty well in space warfare. Now, the other thing that we have benefits for signing is this is our campaign promise. So we return this to the cup and we get +4 public approval, +1 party relations, +3 action points. 1, 2, 3. Jeez, we're crazy high on action points. We just need to spend action points, 2 action points to do an action every single one of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that would spend 10 points, and we might still not run out of them by the end. All right. Was NASA funding a public priority? It was not. So we get no benefit there. All right, so now we're done with NASA funding. Let's see what the other one was. Lingering domestic issue. Let's check the quality of this bill. Come on, number 1. Oh, it's a dysfunctional bill. If we sign it, we lose 1 lingering domestic issue, but we gain 1 domestic crisis and -1 public approval. On the other hand, if we would also lose legacy points for signing it. On the other hand, if we veto it, we lose 1 action point and we gain 1 party relations if it was an opponent's bill. I think we'll just take the action point hit and veto this terrible bill. We really were counting on that to help us. But it wasn't a signed bill, so I think it goes back here. Even though it doesn't tell us, this box says it's for passed and signed bills. So I guess if it's vetoed, it goes back to unused bills. All right, so now we are going to go ahead and check add legislative friends or opponents. If you pass and sign a landmark bill, add a new congressional friend. We do get a new congressional friend because Juliet James is here. Hello, Juliet. And do they have 2 sides? Yes, they have to be radical. Now we have to do a how the sausage is made roll on the congressional maneuvering and drama table. We have a -1 because relations with Congress is currently 7 or greater. We have a -1 because of public approval being very high. We don't get this -1 because we failed that roll 4 times. We failed that roll. We get another -1 because friends outnumber opponents in Congress. So 1, 2, 3 -1s to this roll. Oh, great. 0 or less. Good relationships yield approval and progress. If public approval is 60% or higher, or relations with Congress is 7 or higher, move a bill of your choice left by 1 box. Well, what's my highest priority here? Education reform, which is also a public priority. So let's do that. And draw 1 additional friend to the friends box. And we have 5 as max friends. So let's go ahead and take our friend. Beautiful. Beautiful. It is there. Good relationships yield approval and progress. The domestic front is just so perfect. Now we could potentially introduce new bills. First, remove all bills in the cannot be passed box. So that comes back down here to slot 4, bill number 12. Forgot we do have this space advance that we could potentially use in the future. Anyway, now we're going to add 2 bills thanks to the current position of the bipartisan cooperation. And I think that means we're both going to add 1. We roll to see who adds first. So evens, it's me. I'm going to add Bill first. I think cybersecurity needs to be on the docket again. It needs very important that we fix this cybersecurity problem. Although lingering domestic issue is also, I feel like lingering domestic issue might be better. We can deal with cybersecurity with No, we can't. We can only do one DARPA per year. We can do lingering domestic issue as many times as we want. So we're going to do cybersecurity. Then they are going to pick the highest public priority. Energy independence is not on there. So they're going to pick that, and it's going to be an opponent's bill right there. All right. Now we determine the media result. We definitely have won the media game here. So we would increase public approval. If the result is the max, also adjust media relations. So our media relations goes back up to supportive. Excellent. The liberal media. No scandals. Adjust bipartisan cooperation. This is where things get a little bit worse. They're now conciliatory because there's too many radicals here in Congress. Too many radicals. Okay. How's it going, chat? Anybody in there? Now, legislative momentum. Perform one immediate free action of any type in for each of your bills that were passed and signed during this activation segment. You also get an immediate free action if you confirm to Supreme Court justice or passed a Greater Society bill this segment. So we get one free action. I'm going to use it to try to fix this stupid bipartisan cooperation again. And we'll spend 1 AP to do so. And that's the only thing that we can do. We just have to hope for a 1 or a 2. Yes. Okay. There we go. We've done it. Partially fixed. All right. Next. Draw 1 crisis. Another cascading event. Oh boy. All right. There's nothing in the 3 deck this time. So whatever we put here is going to go in the 3 deck. Pulling it out. Mississippi River floods inundate cities, cause billions in damage. Honestly, when we have this much AP, it's a good time for this. So cleanup costs and concerns. Place 1 tension counter on the POTUS cabinet. Okay. You may spend 2 APs, and then if you choose not to, bad stuff happens. So we'll definitely spend 2 APs and send this to the 3. Gladly spend the 2 APs now. All right, now we get to focus national intelligence. We got to remember, during both segments, you may use this card to perform 1 free intel gathering or raid action with a -1 DRM. Oh, man. I definitely want to use that raid, but I forgot to have it ready. I guess we'll use it here on this 2 terror group because raids are things that are, well, high risk. So we want that -1 additionally on this. All right, so it's WM2. There it is. So we get a -1 for the Spec Ops and Intel, -1 for the Intel, and -1 for the extra thing. So we roll a die with a -3. We get a 1. Major success, survivors scatter. Decrease at 2 levels. Boom. 1 terror cell gone. +1 public approval. Move terror group to the gathering box. Use captured intel to make an immediate attempt against 1 other terror group in the region. So we get an intel attempt. Okay, so intel is a 1 to 4 with a -2. So a 1 to 6 on one of these terror groups in this region. Ah, got it. Nice. Also, there's a double asterisk. If this is a joint action with an ally, U.S. earns 1 UN goodwill. Unfortunately, it's not. Public approval, adjustments, and legacy point award only apply if this is a U.S. raid, not a joint action. Yeah, it is. Okay, that was our free raid from our NSI situation. Now we get to perform our focused national intelligence roles. So let's roll for Africa here to see what we can do. The bonuses and penalties. We actually get a penalty of +1 if either Russia or China has an influence counter in the region and their cybersecurity capability is greater than ours. So for some reason, Russian cyber warfare is being used to protect this terror cell in Africa. Those bastards. All right. So we get a -1 and a +1. So it's a straight up roll. A 3 is move a level 3, 2, or 1 terror group in the region to the locating box. Well, let's move this. Oh, in that order. So the 3 is the one that has to get bumped up. then move a different level 3, 2, or 1 terror group into the gathering box. What is nice that the I'm definitely going to stack these so that we can see the number 4. And there's no civil war in the region, so that's the entire effect of that one. Now we're rolling for this, and it's the same thing. It's a +1, -1. A 6 is the same thing. So a level 3 goes to the gathering box, and a level 2 or whatever goes loading. Well, yeah, nothing happens. Actually, there's a civil war ceasefire. So there's no actual civil war. So that's the end of this segment. So any 4 diplomatic or military actions. Well, let's get this to be bad. Not a thing anymore. Okay, so we have to roll here, and we have a -2. So it's 1 to 6 to try to move this guy up to targeting. Got him. 1 to 6 to move this guy up to locating. Got him. So that was 1 intel action. We're going to do another intel action to move this guy up. Actually, no. We're going to do an intel action to... we're going to do a raid right here on this guy, I think. +1 if the target is a level 3 group. Yeah, that's rough. So, yeah, we are going to be at a total of -1 here. And we want good numbers. Low numbers. Whoa. Success with casualties. Decrease the terror group by 1 level. Move it to the gathering box. All right, at least it's only a 2 now. -1 public approval because we had casualties. Okay, so we did an intel, then we did a raid. Now we're going to do another intel action. This guy 1 to 6. Ugh. Let's pay an AP to reroll that. Son of a bitch. Okay. I see how it is. Let's try on this guy over here. That is a success. Just barely, because we do have a spec ops and an intel here. Which I think is what the requirement is. Oh, just an intel. The spec ops intel combo is what's required for the -1 in the raid. Okay, that was action number 2, action number 3. Let's do action number 4 to continue. Actually, I would like to continue fighting this terror cell, but I think instead we need to try to deal with conflict. Deal with. Let's do Russia-Ukraine. De-escalate a conflict. -1 for our Secretary of State. And unfortunately, +1. +2. +2. So we're at a +1 on this de-escalation thing. Oh, that makes it basically impossible. Let's not do it then. We could try to decrease tensions on Russia. But I think we determined that it would be... Yeah, but we can't de-escalate this with a +1. That's a very low odds. We basically have a 10% chance. And then we could re-roll it. Oh no, 3 to 6 is still effective. I'm sorry. Let's do that. All right. So that makes it 3 to 6 because of the +2 from here compared to the -1 from there. But we decrease it on the track by 1 box. All right, slightly better. Then we're going to spend 2 AP to do something else. And I think that's going to be try to remove Chinese influence from places. Let's start with Asia Pacific. So that is a different diplomatic action. Here it is. We need a regional alignment of 7 or 8. We do have that. So a roll 1 to 6, we remove 1 Chinese influence from here. Yes, excellent. Keeping them away from auto victory is important. Okay. Well, that's the end of our any 4 actions. Now we get some more crises to deal with. I think we really need to work on this domestic thing too, man. I'm really worried about that. Cyber attack. China is blamed. Roll a d10. Target is India. Add 2 tensions counters to India and China. +1 to target country's conflict status track with China. Where's China, India? There it is. All right, well, they're pretty low already. But they get, what, 2 tensions counters each? Damn it. India had no tensions. That was going to be a very good roll for them. And now, U.S. cyber warfare has to be greater than China cyber warfare. Arrgh. In order to make bad stuff happen. Otherwise, U.S. is targeted. Ugh. All right. So this goes into the 2 deck now. Next card. Remind me, I have to do DARPA next. Like, it has to be here, so I don't forget. World economy's booming. Son of a jerk. All right. Place an economy improving counter in all tracks. Actually, that helps the Eurozone, and it unfortunately also helps Russia. The U.S. and China is already booming. -1 regional crisis in the 3 regions with the highest regional crisis levels. Okay, I take it back. That's pretty good. 1. Wow, actually, regional crises are doing very good. So 1, 2, I already did that one, and 3. So we just have to randomly roll which one is not going to get the reduction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So not this one. So this one and this one each get it. If the event hasn't occurred is what it wants to say. All right, we're going to put it right here. So that was our second draw. Regional Summit. I think these can be good. Let's find out. Refer to WD2. Regional Summit table. Determine the type of summit by following. If the regional crises in the selected regions, we got to roll a random region here. 5 is Middle East. Excellent. Middle East needs help. It needs a lot of help. The terrorism situation is off the chain. If the regional crisis is 2 or higher, it is. Or if there's a war, a level 4 terror group, or any, yes, it's security summit. Okay. So make a regional alignment check for that region. 6 or less. Come on. Yes, 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 yes. -1 DRM to below chart. -2 if you spend 2 presidential APs. I think I do want to spend 2 presidential APs. That sounds like really good things are going to happen. So we have -3 now. -4 for Israel being a very close ally. There is unfortunately a level 4 terror group, so that brings it back to -3. And then Russia and China's influence bring it back to a -1. Those sons of bitches. All right. Roll with a -1. 6. Talks yield no progress. No change. Go ram it. Stupid China and Russia. That could have been real good. U.S. guarantees training. -1 regional crisis. Reduce a 3-2 or level 1 terror group by 1. And get a trending pro-U.S. counter. Oh, well. Unfortunately, we can't re-roll it because it's not a U.S. action. All right, well, that could have definitely been worse. Oh, like this, Russia acting. All right, Russia acts. They make 2 cyber attacks. Then they roll a d10 and choose a random choice from the list later. Uh-oh, that means they might start a war with NATO. Oh! So first, cyber attacks. Determining a target randomly. 3, U.S. political cohesion. Luckily, they are not ahead of us in the cyber warfare track, so they're going to miss with an 8+. Oh, they're going to succeed. Decrease relations with Congress by 1 box. That's not terrible. And bipartisan cooperation by 1 box. That is terrible. It's so hard to get that to rise. All right, they make 1 more cyber attack against target 4. Discredit U.S. president. 8 or more? Nope. But it is not a super success. It steals 1 action point and decreases public approval by 1 box. Doesn't steal. It spends 1 action point, decreases public approval by 1 box. Okay. Now they roll randomly on which table? Another random action from the 1 to 10 list of remaining actions below. Okay, so it's just the same chart. Boy, I hope it's not 10. Okay, H is the remaining action hierarchy. Okay, a 6. Veto UN sanctions. If there's a UN sanctions counter on Iran and North Korea, Russia vetoes the renewal of sanctions. Otherwise, skip this action. Roll again if this was a random result. Oh, 1. That's cyber attack. We have to roll again. No. 5. Reinforce allies, build military, use force. Attempt the two options below in this order if the conditions are met. If Russia has a relative strength on the Russia-NATO conflict track that is equal to or lower than NATO, it is currently equal to NATO. Build Russia's military. Roll a d10 and subtract 2. That's a 4. The result is less than the current Russia state of the economy value. It's not. Any other result has no effect. Excellent. Serbia is not at war, so that's the end of their turn. Oof. I think we dodged a bullet there. Could have been worse. All right, any 3 actions. We got the sanctions on them. Okay, I think we need to work on bipartisan cooperation again, one time. So we'll spend the AP. And we're hoping for not a 6. Because, unfortunately, we have no chance to do anything but that. Okay, a 2 is move bipartisan counter 1 box on the track. Oh, it only moves 1 on a 2 or less. Okay, 33% chance. Okay, so that was good. Any 3 actions. We got 2 actions left. Terrorism. Do we deal with lingering domestic crises? A domestic crisis? We're getting close to the end. Do we deal with these crises around the world? Level 4 terror groups. We cannot leave them on the board, man. That's really bad. I think we're going to work on both of these right now. So, intel action for our second action. And it's going to be this terror group and this terror group. So this is 1 to 6. Got him. 1 to 5. Got him. All right. Now we're going to do 2 more actions, including one where we're spending 2 AP to make it happen, to raid both of these groups. So let's grab the raid. Track is right there. So down here, it's a -2, but it's a +1. Okay. -2 +1. It's -1 is a 5. It's another success. So this goes down by 1 level. Move the terror to the gathering box on the intel track. No casualties, at least. Now, that other action where I was going to target them, I think instead I'm going to try to remove influence from here, to be honest. Because I'm just looking at this. If there's a combined total of 3 Russia or Chinese influence here, it makes this raid even harder. So we're going to try to remove influence instead. Let's do Chinese influence, because this one Russian influence isn't going to form a base anytime soon. So we have to make a check against a 1 to a 6. Oh, I think regional crises have to be at 0, actually, in order to make that check. Or our alignment has to be higher. Actually, our alignment has to be much higher. Crap. Okay. Gulp. What can we do to increase our alignment? We can do that stupid, crazy, strong UN speech to create goodwill thing. And we do have the orator attribute, so let's do it. I'm going to spend 1 AP to do that. It doesn't actually cost 1 AP, but it's so much better and easier than the diplomatic action to improve regional alignment, and it has no chance of backfiring. I'm adding a cost to it to make it work like that. Okay. Trending pro-US counter. So we need a 1 to an 8. Got it. Okay, so we're going to add a trending pro-US counter here in the Middle East. So that's our last action there, I think. Now terror or chaos? Is that terror? Damn it, it's terror. I didn't want it to be terror. I think terror is going to be bad for us. I haven't checked the chat in a bit. There we go. The stupid rogue state increased the regional crises. Consolidation of networks. In each region where there are at least 2 terror groups, remove 1 set and replace it with a level 2. All right. I mean, that actually makes them easier to track, so it's not necessarily bad. And I think this one would also occur. Uh-oh. So that happens. All right, then make a terror roll on the terror acts table below. +1 per level 3 or 4 terror group on the map. 1, 2? 2 level 3s on the map? Okay, gulp. +1, you say? Okay, terror group expands. Increase the highest level terror group on the map by 1 level. I think we need a summit to deal with all these terrorists. Oh, no! I think that means they create another rogue state. Damn it. All right. On the one hand, that makes them easier to deal with because I can go to war with a rogue state. And I'm at war with 2 rogue states at a time in the same place. Can you do that? That's something I'm going to have to ask because I don't want to go to war yet. At the end of the turn, being at war can be bad for you. But at the beginning of next turn, we're going to war with a rogue state. We're going to crush them, make them stop being what they are. Roll 1d10 to export terror. 5. There's a level 1 or 2 terror group in Con US, randomly increase such terror group by 1 level. Oh, that's starting to get bad. All right, that's the end of terror acts, though. Okay. Ally rogue group acts. Group C, the last group that has not yet acted, which is Australia, Israel, India, and then rogue states. So Australia is very close. They're going to get 2 actions. I'm going to have them work on regional crisis in the Middle East because that is a scary situation. Good job successfully dealing with that. Then they're going to work on regional crises in somewhere else. They can't do terrorism because there's no terror going on here. They don't have a conflict track. They can't stabilize the region because it's as high as it goes. So I guess they just do another regional crisis in the Middle East. Success. Dealing with those crises. Now they get their own unilateral result, and it's a +3. So let's look at their unilateral chart, +3. If there are 3 or more tensions on China, then they get another +1, so that's +4 total. 7. Anti-terror campaign. Well, damn it. That's not useful at all. We really wanted that to be lower. C'est la vie. Next up, Israel. They can maybe do some stuff here. Actually, there's not really any terror groups in the Middle East anymore. It's Africa. We did manage to murder that one. All right, but we should probably take advantage of their free intel successes, and then they can do a raid. So they'll do one of these and one of these. Oh, there's no more here because it's a rogue state now. That's right. So then the other joint action they'll do with us is a raid against this level 2 terror group, which should be very successful because Israel by default gets to add an extra -2 to the roll. And we got a -1 from this, so that's a -3. Unfortunately, the Chinese and Russian influence here increased it by +1. So -2 if it's an Israeli raid. -1 for that, and +1 for that. It's a -2 total to the raid. Here we go. Oh, success with casualties. Oh, can't get a good hit on one of these guys. Goes back to the gathering intel box. -1 public approval, but not if it's a joint raid. We don't have to worry about that. Now, what are they going to do on their unilateral thing? They don't have a lot of tension, so maybe we get lucky here. So that's a +3, and they draw 1 more. So a +3 on their chart, but wait, they're at war, aren't they? Did I forget to mark that? Yeah, they're at war. Still says they get their actions even if they're at war. So it is going to affect this, however. There's a war going on over here. If they're at war, or the Middle East rogue has WMDs, so that adds a +2 to the, what, 2 that we already saw there, 3. So that's a 5. Half rounded down to the current Israel-Iran conflict track. Oh, and you're supposed to put Israel and neighbors down here. Israel-Iran is 1, so that's 6. 7 total. Ugh, this is going to be a big... Oh, okay, it's a 10. Strike Iranian-backed missiles and weapons. Remove 1 Iran-Israel of your choice from the Middle East. Okay. If the result falls within the blue area, Israel is already at war, +1 to their strength in the war instead of the listed result. Okay. So we open up the war and give them +1 strength. They're already winning the war. But now they're winning it by even more. Okay. Unfortunately, the rogue states are now going to try to get WMDs. Keeping them around for this long has been very risky. Very, very risky. But I really didn't want to declare war on them when I've got all these other things to deal with. The terror groups just won't go away. I'm hoping that if we can just increase stability a little more, that there will be fewer terror groups. We got stability up pretty high in the Pacific, and that's worked out in our favor. Stability in Central South Asia is just bad, but the Middle East stability is actually quite good. And if we can get regional crisis to 0, we can actually increase stability again if we're careful. Maybe. Although I think there has to be no unstable states or rogue states or what have you. Oh, India is acting now as well, isn't it? Yes. So India is very close, but they are -1 AP, so they are only going to do 1 action for us here. What action should that be? Let's lower regional crises in the Middle East. Good job. Mission accomplished. Now they're going to roll on their own table. Their tensions are 2 plus... There's no rogue state in Central South Asia. India, China, or India, Pakistan is greater than 2. So it's just 2 total. Okay. That's good news. So they're going to roll with a 3 total. Increase economic impact within Central South Asia. Remove 1 China or Russian influence counter from Central South Asia. This is why you really want to get your allies' tensions down. I should probably use that a little more, because if they roll low on their unilateral table, it usually helps remove influence. Or remove tensions from other places. Like, keeping your allies at 0 tensions is probably a great goal. But it just costs a full action to lower them by 2. So it's tough to want to do that very often. All right, but in the brown area, also end a war with China first or Pakistan, but there's no war, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, it's rogue state actions, unfortunately. Now we roll for each rogue state on the map. So each one is only going to do A. They're going to try to... do only B. Terror impact. Place a trending anti-US counter on the region's alignment track. Ugh. Then roll a D10 and apply the result below. Try to acquire WMDs. Never mind. They're not a strong enough rogue state to do that. Instead, they're going to increase their rogue state by 1 level. Okay, that's bad. And they are also going to increase their rogue state by 1 level. That's also bad. Final check, unstable states in the Middle East and Africa. The Middle East has a -1 to this roll for regional stability. So 6 is a 5, which is keep it on the map. And the other one, oh no, that's a 9. Flip it to the Civil War side. Darg. All right, and then we do Africa. There's no unstable states in Africa, so that is done. Now the UN will act. Maybe we can get the UN to deal with these rogue states. I don't actually know if that's possible. We're going to find out. So that's in actually on the flip book. All right, so the UN action segment. So they're first going to do humanitarian aid to the world region with the most crises. We're keeping that nice and low. So it's basically just this. They lower the Pacific. All the crises in the world are taken care of, except for these ginormous things on the map. One infrastructure aid to the place with the lowest stability. That is either Central South Asia. I think it's just Central South Asia. That's got 4. So they're going to try that. 1 to a 5. Yeah. Excelente. Next, 1 youth empowerment to the lowest stability region that contains a level 2 or 3 terror group. So that is 5. That's 6. 6. This is 5. So here, this is the only one, actually. Actually, here. So Eastern Europe is evens. So Eastern Europe gets it. So this is going to succeed on a 1 to 5. All right. And that is going to decrease that by 1 level. Then they're going to do peace talks in a civil war. This area with the lowest stability that has a civil war. So lowest stability is 5. No civil war there. We had a new civil war pop up here, but their stability is 6. So it's going to be here. So they're going to try to broker peace in this with a -2, -3, and no Iranian influence counter. So it's just a -3 to the roll. Dang it. Oh, come on. Well, actually, -3 is fragile peace. No change to Civil War ceasefire counter. Okay. So that's not the worst thing in the world. All right. Now I can perform 2 actions. I do have a UN counter, and I could spend an AP to perform another action. Let's see. Arms control negotiations, de-escalate, decrease a level 3 to 4 track by 1 level, also remove 2 tensions from each side. That's actually quite good. Unfortunately, they don't have anything to help deal with rogue states. I guess that's just up to Team America World Police. All right. We could try to de-escalate a track. Let's do DRP ROK, and we'll spend an AP to do this one, so it'll add a -1 to the roll. And we get to also add this -1 for the U.S. opinion of us to this roll. So a -2. Success. So de-escalate. Decrease level 3 or 4 conflict track by 1 level. And also remove 2 tensions from each side. Gone and gone. Excellent. That is very good. Now we're going to use our UN goodwill here to try to increase stability in a region. I think if we try to increase stability in the Middle East, it'll make this whole thing a little bit easier. But maybe Africa needs the stability. Let's send 1 to 5 in Africa. Come on, 1 to 5. -2. 1 to 7 in Africa. Yes, yes, yes. Africa stability. Very high. Crisis at 0. That might mean that these terror groups start to disappear instead of appearing at the end of every frickin' turn. Okay. Those were our 2 things. We could have put UN sanctions on Iran and North Korea, but nah, it's fine. All right. So now we're moving on to 3 domestic actions. Let's take care of these terrorists here. So, domestic, track terror. All we have to do is make a homeland security check, which is currently 7. Oh. And if it fails, no effect. So let's try and re-roll that with 1 AP. We're running out now, but we're also in the home stretch. All right, 4 is a success. So we're moving it 1 box to the right on the track. And if we move it into target fixed immediately. Okay, so that was action number 1. Action number 2 is going to be doing the same thing. We're going to roll again, and we got to get lower than 7 or lower. Success, and then we immediately get to perform a raid against them. Master domestic action number 7. D12. I've never used this raid before. Hopefully it's easier than the international raids. All right, we get a -1 on it if Homeland Security is 6 or greater, which it is. If Homeland Security is our number 1 focus, we'd get another one. Target is a level 3 group, so unfortunately that means you get a +1. Okay, so it's a straight up roll, and we can do 1 reroll, which we're going to do because a 9 sounds really bad. Failure with casualties. Reroll, come on now. Okay, I'll take a 3. Success. Decrease terror group by 1 level, +1 public approval. Survivors scatter. Move it to the gather intel. Only 1 level. These things are so... It takes so many actions to get them down to 0. It's insane how long it takes. Now it's going to take me 2 more actions to get them up here, and then another action just to get them down 1 more level, and then 2 more action. I don't know how you stop that. Anyway, so we did 2 tracking, and then we did that. I'm going to spend 2 AP to try to solve a domestic crisis as well. I think we're too close to domestic failure. So that's the last thing we're going to do here in this segment, which is address a lingering domestic issue. No, solve a domestic crisis. Make a cabinet effectiveness check with a -1, 2, and maybe 3. Yeah, 3. -3. So 8 -3 is going to be below our cabinet effectiveness, so that is success. Decrease domestic crisis track by 1 and +1 public approval. Okay. Now we get to this here. Domestic crisis. Good thing we just dealt with it somewhat. Okay. Crap. Roll a D10 and reference the result on the domestic crisis event table D9. I don't think I've ever dealt with this either. I've never seen this chart before. Place 1 tensions counter. Ugh. Oh, there was already 1 there. Or I clicked on it and made 1. Anyway. Roll a D10 with no DRMs. That makes it easy. Social unrest, riots. +1 domestic crisis levels. -2 public approval. -1 media relations. Ugh. Make a public approval check. If fail, increase LDI by 1. So we need a 9 or less. Okay, we got it. No effect from that. Okay, that wasn't terrible. Now we have to check the war progress. This is going to be the Israeli war with Hezbollah. And I think we already determined that it's pretty simple. We're just going to roll on the table in the 1-to-1 or less column for that war. With a straight up, 6 is going to be, it goes 1 to the right, closer to the defending forces winning. And both have 1 loss. And then it changes to a guerrilla war. Well, Hezbollah has almost been dealt with here. But they still have to go here and here. But if Hezbollah loses 1 more, it's going to end the war anyway. Now, I think we have to add a crisis in that region. U.S. forces are not involved. Okay. So 1 crisis here. Okay, that was that. Oh, we have to now do civil wars. That's right. Okay, civil wars as well. So here's the civil war chart. Let's go ahead and resolve them from top to bottom. Civil war here in the Middle East. Stability is 6. That doesn't have an impact. It only gets harder if it's lower, so it doesn't help. Okay, so we roll straight up, and we stop rolling on that. There we go. Hey, that's great. A ceasefire with UN peacekeepers is in effect. Does it also lower regional crises? Yes, it does. All right, now this one is -2. That is a permanent peace, remove civil war counter, and any UN peacekeeper, and decrease regional crises by 1 box. All right. That's 1 less war going on. We started with lots of wars. Now we only have 1 real war and 1 civil war that's in a ceasefire. All the other civil wars have been taken care of. Now, next year, we go to war against 2 rogue states back to back. Just send the entire U.S. military there. Make it happen. We'll have to move the USAF over there from Central South Asia to give us some extra strength, etc. Okay. So that is all the civil wars. Now we move on to perform any 4 diplomatic or military actions. This is tricky. I'd love to remove influence from here, but I think I'm going to have to try to remove influence from Asia Pacific, and I believe we determined that is a straight up. Actually, let's address a domestic crisis first. So that's a cabinet effectiveness check with a -1, 2. Looks like 3, -3. So that is a success. We remove the domestic crisis and +1 public approval. Now, do we want to bother addressing this lingering domestic crisis? We get +3 approval for doing it. I think that we can afford to wait on that. I think we should deal with the terror group, or wait a minute. Any 4 diplomatic or military. Technically, I couldn't do that. Well, let's spend the APs in order to do that extra action that was diplomatic. Now I have 4 international effects I can do. Maybe we try to deal with the other terrorists that are out there. Because there's a 3 here. Get them closer to being located. And we could try to deal with these ones before they get worse. So let's do an intel action. So here it's 1 to 6. Failure. And here it's 1 to 5. Failure. Well, that was effective. The other thing I wouldn't mind doing is trying to deal with tensions. Maybe we could do a summit with China. Let's do a summit with China. That's action number 2. Summit with China. Because I think we can get a lot done and maybe decrease tensions, etc. Especially when relations are really good. Summits with China can be great. So we've got the ability to solve 3 different problems. We don't need to improve relations. We don't need to remove sanctions. We don't need to remove trade. Stabilize Asia, Pacific, Central, South Asia, blah, blah, blah. Remove 1 tensions from China and each U.S. ally in the region. That's actually a pretty good option, although that's already been taken care of. Or remove 1 unstable state counter in the region. Can that apply to the Middle East? It can apply to Africa. Jointly mediate a ceasefire. Can they help us with terrorism? Yes, joint regional anti-terrorism contain. Only in Asia Pacific, Central South Asia, if no sanctions. Dang it, no, that doesn't help either. All right, I'll take it back. We're not going to do this China summit. Instead, I think we're just going to do some tension reduction. I think that will help everybody. Ooh, you know what we also could do is we could potentially help Israel in their war. Is that worth pursuing? Request rapid capabilities. I keep forgetting to do DARPA. Okay, we're doing that right now. During any activation segment in which military actions, if there are less than 2 rapid capability counters, it costs an AP. Unless your Secretary of Defense's rating is 2, which it is, in which case no AP is required. Okay, so we're going to take 2 of the remaining actions. So now we're going to have 1 left, and we're going to put some DARPA up here. We're going to put 1 on cyber warfare, and we're going to put 1 somewhere else, probably strategic missile defense. Yeah, let's put it there. Gulp. All right. Now we've got 1 diplomatic action left. Let's reduce tensions somewhere. Maybe on China, because they had so many crazy actions. Or Russia. Let's see if we can reduce tensions on Russia. That is a diplomatic action. Or a trade agreement. You know what? I want a trade agreement. I want it with Asia. If we have a good trade agreement in Asia, we can remove influence from there. So let's try to get a trade agreement with Asia. -1 per AP spent. Ooh, oh well. I guess we're just going to try. So first we make a... Oh, make a regional alignment check. So a 7 or less. Got it. So now we have a trade agreement pending counter added. Wherever that's hiding. There it is. We have a trade agreement pending counter. Then make a relations with Congress check. If you pass, flip the trade agreement pending to the trade agreement side and place a trending pro-U.S. marker in the affected region's track. All right. Relations with Congress is a 7. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, baby. We fixed that, and this is flipped. That's going to do very good things for us, I bet. I hope, question mark. All right, that is our last possible action here. Now we do state of the U.S. impact here. We can, I believe, add regional alignment boosts, or we can increase ally relationships by 1 level. So let's fix this ally relationship here with South Korea. Then this one will get fixed by our ally's best friend in the future. And then we can increase alignment somewhere. I think maybe Central America or the Middle East. Or you know what? Let's make it Eastern Europe, whose alignment is now up at 7, making it harder for Russia and China to get influence there, hopefully, in the near future. All right, now we get to gain 1 relations with Congress. Beautiful. 2 action points. That's the only reason I was confident in spending all my action points before the final thing, is because I knew we were going to get 2 from there, and 3 public approval. So we're maxed out there as well. So now we're heading into the home stretch here. Draw 1 crisis chit, 2 crisis cards. President election scandal. If you have the Teflon POTUS attribute, make a presidential prestige check and pass. Otherwise, you're being investigated for campaign irregularities. I thought we dealt with this in the first year, but apparently new evidence has arisen. Place a new POTUS scandal counter. Ooh. And that goes in the breaking scandal box. -2 public approval, -1 relations with Congress. Damn it. I was close to an automatic victory. I might still have it. I don't know. And that's all that happens. Now, let's double check. What does this say? For each scandal marker in this box, the start of the scandal investigation. So that's during a legislative segment. So we'll see. Actually, I kind of want to see, what does the scandal investigations look like? Are there ways that I can improve that? Probably relations with Congress, maybe friends and opponents in Congress. D14. Are there any DRMs? If bipartisan cooperation is high, if relations with Congress is high, if public approval is high, if friends outnumber opponents, exactly what I thought. And if party relations is high, then all those things improve the scandal roll. All right, good to know, good to know. But this now is going to go into the 2 deck, and it's going to potentially come up again later. Actually, what is that? Relations with Congress is what we want to keep high, according to that. Okay, that was action number 1. Now, event card number 2. Party rift develops. -2 to party relations. Wow! Wow! That's terrible. All right, so I lose 2 random friends. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3 and 1. That's terrible. And if I spend some AP now, oh, that's really risky. Then I can fix it, but it's pretty easy to fix. And the media slant, though, does help us with +1 AP. And by PA, I guess, public approval, sorry. Now, this is just going to go to the reshuffle pile. Oh, then make a party relations check. I see. It could get worse. if I don't spend the AP. Fine. No, we're going to save the AP. We're going to save it. We're just going to roll, make a party relations check. So 4 or less is what we want to see. Whoa, we got super lucky. Super lucky. 40% was not great. All right, he is a moderate. There's never going to be a moderate Congress here with this many radicals. Everything I pull is radical. Okay, and then this goes to the reshuffle pile. So that was action number 2. So let's see what this pulls. 2 more. What is this event? Corruption scandals bring down Brazilian Workers' Party. Amidst mass rioting, army imposes martial law. Damn it! South America, we were almost to the end with every single region having 0 crises. How dare you? I can spend 2 APs to subtract 2 from the result. Oh, gosh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. -1 regional stability? Oh, no. I was so close to fixing the problem. But at least it didn't make it worse. Okay, so South American stability went down. And place an unstable state there. Ooh. And then get rid of that terrible event. All right. Event number 2 from that. Renewed terror attacks in northern Iceland. Oh, man, how did I get so many terrorism events in the card deck? I don't remember all those. Plays a level 2 terror group and +1 regional crisis in Europe. Gar, so close! Plays 2 tensions counters on the UK. During the next ally activation, the UK must use an intel attempt as one of their joint actions. There's a must use intel. There we go. All right, and that is discarded. Now we roll 1 to 4. Will its turn mercifully end? Yes. All right. Now we have to deal with all the consequences. And I was feeling much better about them until that one. Those last 2 cards screwed us over. Okay, so first, plays any drawn. Russia acts. Go into the extras box, but they're still posture 2, so they're going to go back in. Then we send all of these back to the cup. I go there. And, there's the US action. Going back up here. Flip over the 4 ally rogue group counters. Done. Passed and signed bills. Okay. This is weird, though, right? I have to move them, but then later on it asks me, hey, did you pass these bills? And it's like, well, I don't know, man. So we would just get some, with +1 to party relations, apparently, for passing that, and then gain 1 new friend in Congress. But I can't, because 4 is the max, even with party relations. Okay, so I kept my campaign promise. That's the one that I wanted to do. Like, that should be checked before I remove all the past legislation, right? Because it says, hey, did you pass something this year? And then later on, but before it tells you to check that, it says, yeah, undo all that stuff that you did so that you can't tell. Anyway, Russia and China get a trending anti-US. So what else is new for Russia? And adjust public priorities by moving counters up. We didn't pass any of these energy independence things, right? We only passed the NASA funding and the tax reform. Oh, we passed the tax reform, which is a public priority, so that should have gone away, and that means this moves up and a new one is drawn randomly. Social Security for next year. Then I can reorder these if I want. I guess we can do energy independence, because that is likely to be a thing. And we'll do that in lieu of what? Tax reform. I still want to deal with the lingering domestic crisis issue. Okay. So that is now we have to see the consequences of regional stability. If stability is 7 or 8, it is here. Decrease the lowest level terror group in the region by 1 level. If there are any rogue states in the region, reduce the largest one by 1 level. Note that a level 1 rogue state so reduced becomes a level 4 terror group. Remove 1 unstable state in the region. No. Do we have any other stability 7s? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Look at that. The lowest level terror group in the region is decreased by 1 level, which means it's gone. Boy, that was not as good as I'd hoped. But it didn't add any terror groups. This is normally the situation where terror groups get added. And we remove 1 in a stable state, so that's not applicable here. Are there any other 7s? No. So now 6s. Place a new level 1 terror group there. If there are any rogue states, roll a d10, blah, blah, blah. What else do we have at 6? Here, Central America is at 6, so they get a new level 1 terror group. And the Middle East is 6, so they get another level 1 terror group. And if there are any rogue states there, it might get reduced by a level for the largest one. So we're hoping for a 1 to 4. Yes! So that gets reduced 1 level. All right, I think that's all the 6s. Now, if stability is 5, place 2 new level 1 terror groups. No effect on rogue states. So this is a 5. We've got 2 new level 1 terror groups. This is there 5? Five is here. Can't be more than 4 total terror groups, though. And I think we've maintained that. Okay. Now, stability is 4. That is unfortunately South America now. Place 2 new level 1 terror groups. No effect on rogue states. So it's basically the same. We don't have any stability 3s. That's the luck part. All right. So I think everybody got some more terror groups except Africa, which actually lost a terror level. Fantastic. Good job, Africa. Okay. Region containing U.S. allies now has 2 or more unstable state counters on it. Oh, no! It's going to decrease an ally by 1 level. Son of a gun. The unstable... Oh, no, this does not have 2 more unstable states. Apparently having a couple of rogue states doesn't decrease the ally level. Whatever. Terrorist recruiting and playing in 2 random regions. Okay. A 7 and a 5. So that's the Middle East, of course it is. And South America. Increase a level 1 terror group to level 2. And I think it's just random which one we increase. So evens, odds. Evens increases this one. And one of these just goes to level 2. All right. Then make a Homeland Security check. If you fail at, yeah, this is where I failed last time. So 7 or higher, or 7 or lower, rather, we got it. And we don't have to add a new terrorism card to this existing crisis deck. Thank God. Okay. Rogue state impact and recruiting. Perform in the following order. If there's a rogue state 4 on the board, blah, blah, blah. If the rogue state 2 or 3, decrease the region's stability. Oh, no! Should have got rid of them sooner, I suppose. And increase the highest level terror group by 1. All right. For each rogue state 1, increase the regional crisis counter on the board. So close. We could have gotten some bonuses here if we could have got rid of the rogue states. We're supposed to just go to war with all rogue states. That I think the game is probably wrong about. Hello, Dr. Crane. What a simple looking game, you don't say. We're on the final step, end turn here, of a very long turn sequence that takes about 4 hours to get through. At least in the stream it is. Because what are we on? Yeah, we're almost 2 hours here, and we've done a half a year. So each half a year is roughly a little lower than 2 hours once you get good at it. Yes, it's only a solo game, Mr. President. And the essentially the pitch of the game is it's an unabashed positive Team America world police, but without the satire view of the American presidency and imperialism. Without really any take on domestic politics above and beyond passing generic bills like education reform. What kind of education reform? Is it a Democratic bill or a Republican bill? You decide. It's your game. You get to decide what that means. So they don't really go into politics as such, other than essentially the how the sausage is made element of you want to have good bipartisan cooperation, high party relations, good cabinet effectiveness when you want to do things domestically, and high relations with Congress and media relations, and balancing all those factors. And the rule book puts together essentially a very simple way of explaining how the game works, which is essentially, we're going to reshuffle this. You win the game here in the domestic arena, but you lose the game here in the international arena. There's a lot of ways that you can automatically lose. Like, for example, if the Korean War breaks out and the North Koreans have gotten to mass deployment of nuclear weapons, that will automatically end the game. If China and Japan go to war, that will automatically end the game. If Russia and NATO go to war, that will also automatically end the game. There's like 14 different ways that you can automatically end the game. So anyway, we're going to find out if I got an auto win here. I think I did. I'm playing on normal difficulty, and I think at the end of the second year, I've gotten an auto victory. And it's not because the game has been easy. It's been very difficult on the international front. I've spent almost all of my actions trying to curtail terrorism in rogue states and mediate civil wars. Yeah, it's a little bit Twilight Struggle, but solo, because you do have China and Russia that act as peer nations that have their own activations within the sequence, and they do all kinds of things that try to mess with your hegemony over the world. And they have their own ways to essentially win the game, right? If Russian influence gets to 9 and 2 other conditions are satisfied, you lose and Russia wins. If the Chinese ever get to 15 total influence around the world, they win. And how they act is dependent upon the state of their economy and whether there are sanctions on them and their relations with the United States. It's a lot of interesting stuff that comes together to create interesting stories. Anyway, how's Brazil's situation in the game right now? Well, it was looking really good until we pulled some really bad results. Actually, speaking of Brazil, let's see if I can find it here. Cards. We had, and the last 2 cards we pulled before the end was a renewed terror attack in Ireland and corruption scandals bring down Brazilian Workers' Party. Amidst mass rioting, army imposes martial law. I spent 2 presidential action points to try to get a good result on this roll and restore order, but I failed. So political and social upheaval continue. I apologize. And that's the reason we have a regional crisis in South America, and it's the reason why the stability went down. It was terrible. I almost had 0 regional crises. It was going to be very good for me. Almost all across the board. I had no regional crisis anywhere on the board until the last 2 cards were pulled, where I had the Eurozone got an increase in because of that the Northern Ireland thing, and then the South America did too. And there was 1 card before that made the Middle East. Oh no, the Middle East went up because of the rogue states, I believe, that are there. Yeah, those guys suck. Anyway, randomly select 1 rogue state on the board. All right, so odds evens. So that was odds. So they are going to try to gain in size and power. A 6+ is a failure. Come on. Yes, they failed. Now we check war effects. For each current war to which the U.S. has committed units, place a worsening economy marker on the track. We don't have any. For each civil war counter on the board, increase that region's regional crises. But we managed to cause all civil wars to disappear and turn this one. This is the last civil war, and it's currently in a ceasefire with UN peacekeepers. So that's good. You'd recommend one of your games, but they can't be played solo? What game is that? Let's see. For each civil war counter, increase regional crises. If there's major crisis, blah, blah, blah. Unexpected consequences of military footprints. I forgot to build stuff with the U.S. Army this turn. You've published some games on tabletop. Well, I've played Tabletop Simulator games multiplayer before. So now we have to flip over this U.S. military footprint that got placed there because we have armies stationed in the Pacific. No effect. Place one level 1 terror here. Apparently some collateral damage from the U.S. Army being in this location. But that's the only terror group in the Asia-Pacific theater, so it's doing pretty well. So we return these to the cup, and then we bring on 2 more U.S. military footprints because we still have military forces sitting there because we have to, because they're garrisoning Japan and Korea. Well, name them. What you got? All right, here's what I was hoping for. Good governments and improving stability. For each region that has a regional crisis rating of 0 and contains 0 or 1 unstable state counters and no rogue state counters of any level, increase that regional stability by 1. That includes Eastern Europe, baby. Hell yeah. Next, it also includes Central America has skyrocketing stability. Great job, Central America. That's actually going to cause the terror groups and the unstable states to go away real soon. Any other places with 0 and 0? Africa is the most stable region in the world. That is crazy go nuts. Actually, Asia Pacific is also very stable. And Central South Asia also going more stable. All right, I think that covers all of them that were at 0. Now, for any regional crisis that was at 1 and had no unstable state counters, let's see. That includes Europe. Remove any 2 tensions counters from the region or decrease any 2 terror groups in the region by 1 level. I think getting rid of some terror groups is a good idea. Okay, so that's this one. Next, unfortunately, we have regional crisis of 1 and 1 unstable. This has 2, so nothing good happens in South America. Sorry to say. And for any region, the regional crisis of 1 and no unstable state counter for 1 unstable state counter. Okay, so we get to remove 1 unstable state from the Middle East. That's good. Unstable states can turn into civil wars, and that's bad. All right, but what about... I think we did everything else. All right. EU economic stability. The Eurozone state of the economy may impact Eurozone stability. If it's 6 or higher, increase Eurozone stability. If it's 3 or lower, decrease it. So nothing happens. An agent for peace, question mark? If all of the following are true, the U.S. or a U.S. ally is not currently involved in any war. Unfortunately, that is not true. I can't win the Nobel Peace Prize again. I've already won it once. But Israel's at war with Hezbollah, and so I cannot be an agent for peace. So now let's see. Possible improved world opinion of the U.S. Check the current world opinion of the U.S., then survey the 8 world regions to determine how many have a regional alignment greater than or equal to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And unfortunately, it doesn't cause the U.S. World opinion of the U.S. to go up. Now, effects of trade agreements. This is where we're hoping to get rid of some of these nasty Russian and Chinese influence. Roll on table WD4. WD4. There it is, trade agreements. All right. There's sanctions. Okay. Interesting. Why does WD have a sanctions section not be in the main rules? Anyway. Immediate effect, long-term effect. Okay. do we have any DRMs? If the current regional crisis level is 0 or 1, it's a -1 DRM. That is true. So we're going to roll with a -1. But if there's Russia or Chinese influence there, it's a +2. So now we're rolling with a +1. And we're rolling on the best possible column, but it's a +1. Oh, that's an 8. Place an economy improving counter on the U.S. track. It already is. Place a trending pro-U.S. counter here. +1 public approval. We really needed a 4 to remove 1 Russia or Chinese counter. Oh, well. We did what we could. And we passed our campaign promise. Congressional reaction to your public approval rating. Your public approval rating is 60% or higher. Increase relations with Congress by 1. Boom. Place 1 new congressional friend as long as your party relations allow it. They don't. We can only have 4 congressional friends at the moment. Add the New Year deck and reshuffle. So, uh-oh. Crap, how did... That's terrible. These all got added. All right, can we select all of these and hit OK and pull them out? Oh, we can. Thank God. Return to cup. I don't know how they got added to the year 4 thing by mistake. All right, so now we got to grab all of these and put them in the crisis deck. Then we have to take half of these and add these back in here, and these all get discarded. No. There. Okay. So that should be good. Now, presidential performance evaluation. Scoring with possible auto loss and possible auto win. So public approval. We're going to add these 5 tracks up. You've got 9 for public approval. Relations with Congress is as high as it can go at 8. Relations with media is a 7. State of the economy is a 7. And Homeland Security is a 7. Then we subtract 1 from the total. So this is 9 and 8 is 17, plus 7 is 24, plus 7 is 31, plus 7 is 38. All right. Then we subtract 1 for each region with a regional alignment of 4 or less. I don't think we have any of those, honestly. Nope. But then for each rogue state counter on the board, we subtract 1. So we down to 36. Then, if the total is 35 plus, auto victory, game over, you've won a massive victory. Americans revere you as the greatest American president. But only if this is the end of turn 2 or later. South America is 4. South America is for stability, but the regional alignment is still 4. They use the same track for those 2 things. Excellent. Well, that's it. I mean, I found it pretty damn easy to keep my public approval very high. This game, the state of the economy also was very high. The major problem we had was the terror groups that kept popping up. And luckily, we had a superstars on the NSC staff that helped us out tremendously. We did have that war with Hezbollah and these rogue states we were going to have to deal with, but you don't have to, in order to get an auto victory, you just have to do really well. You cemented your victory, etc., etc., up there with Abraham Lincoln, apparently. Because our current legacy points are at 21. We would have gained an extra 2 this round, even if we hadn't gotten an auto victory. Our presidential prestige is already maxed out. Like, all of our domestic stuff, in the first year, our relations with Congress were in the toilet, and it took a long time to recover them. Oh, we took the entire first year to recover them. But when it did, we had no other problems domestically. We even took care of the terror group without any major issues. It was these international things that kept causing us to spend tons. Like, well over half of our actions were international actions trying to stop things from going horribly wrong, especially with this many tensions markers on Russia. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Somebody recommended a game called Democracy 4, which is a game on Steam that I might check out next, and maybe we'll stream it if it looks good. It seems fun. But for now, thanks for watching, Dr. Kane. I'll check out that that game that you linked there, or your profile there, and find it. And we'll see you later. Have a good one.